What is happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. The mailman just dropped off a very heavy box of graphic novels. This is my latest haul. I've got a stack here. This is what I'm going to be reading over the next month or so. We've got books from Fantagraphics and DC Comics in this haul. Some very nice artist editions as well. Right now we are looking at Dead Man by Kelly Jones, the complete collection. Picked this up on a whim after a recommendation. Really like his artwork. Not very familiar with Kelly Jones's career. Really liked his issues of Swamp Thing. So decided to pick this up. Not sure how the stories are. The artwork is what sold it for me. Really enjoy the way he depicts Dead Man in these very awkward, hunched over positions. Very cool. Looks like there are 4 different sections of stories in this book. If I do end up liking it, I'll probably look into the earlier Dead Man work that is being collected in the DC Finest. Next up, we have Atlas Comics Library number 9, Adventures into Weird Worlds Volume 1. This collects the first 10 issues of Adventures into Weird Worlds. This is pretty much pre-code horror, sci-fi, mystery, comics, odd tales. You get a little bit of history of the series itself. Some great stories in here by Joe Maneely, Bill Everett, Russ Heath, and others. These books are high quality. They're well built. They have a nice matte finish. The coloring itself doesn't look to be too altered from what it looked like originally. Just looks like it's been cleaned up. I think Fantagraphics is doing an incredible job with these reproductions. I just really hope they keep them up. I hope we get a volume 2 and 3. This series has about 30 issues, so this is the first 10. They would need to publish another 2 books to complete this series. They did have a series published earlier called Adventures into Terror. Now, that they didn't follow up with a volume 2, and it's been a few years already, so I'm really hoping that they get around to publishing a volume 2 of that series as well, which also had around 30 issues, so you would need about 3 volumes each to collect both series in their entirety. Next up, we have Atlas Comics Library number 6 now, titled Shiver As You Read. This is pretty much a horror compilation made up of 2 different series, Men's Adventures and Amazing Detective Cases, also featuring work by Joe Maneely, Bill Everett, Bernie Krigstein, Joe Sinnott, Stan Lee, Jim Mooney, and others. Also, these comics are pre-code horror comics taking place before the Comics Code Authority. These specifically are between 1952 and 1954. Love the pre-code horror. I mean, these are not as good as EC Comics, Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, Haunt of Fear, etc., but they're still quite enjoyable. If I were to rank these comics compared to EC Comics, best to worst, I'd say the top is EC, next down is probably Harvey Publications, and next would be Atlas Comics. Moving along, we have 2 more books left in this haul. We have a beautiful artist edition here, Atlas Creator Collection number 3, featuring Bill Everett. This is a creator-centric book featuring the stories of Bill Everett. This is not a complete collection of his entire body of work at Atlas Comics. It is a curated collection, meaning people selected probably his best stories and threw it all together in this collection. I really wish they would have just collected the entire thing. It doesn't really make sense. This is mostly all pre-code horror stories. There's a few sci-fi stories in here, but that's it. The timeline for these stories range from 1949 all the way up to 1955. So there are a couple stories that surpass the Comics Code Authority by about a year or so. So they're taking from a few different comic series here. We have Marvel Tales, Journey into Unknown Worlds, Strange Tales, Astonishing, Menace, Mystic, Spellbound, Adventures into Weird Worlds, Uncanny Tales. This is good stuff right here. I'm going to go out and say that this is the best artist edition that they've released so far. They've also released one for Al Williamson and Joe Maneely. We have some stories coming up that were published in a book series called Menace. You can get a collection of that. It's out of print, but they did print it in a Marvel Masterworks, the complete series here. I'm really hoping that they reprint that, as that series would fit in one book, and it is actually the best, in my opinion, of Atlas's pre-code horror era. One of these stories here, Zombie, which later went on to spawn its own magazine series called Tales of the Zombie. And we'll just go ahead and have a look at the cover gallery here. This is some of his covers from different titles. Astonishing Journey into Mystery, Unknown Worlds, Menace, that's the series I was speaking of. Some very nice covers. Coming up on our last book of this haul, just to show you a quick size comparison compared to a trade paperback, you can see that these books are much, much larger. Sometimes they title them Atlas Artist Edition, and sometimes they title them Creator Collection. So they definitely messed up with the titling, but the volume numbers all do follow the same order. So this is the Joe Maneely one here. And unfortunately, Joe Maneely died at a fairly young age, and it was rather tragic, really. His potential was never fully reached. And it was known that Stan Lee preferred to work with Joe Maneely over others. So to think, if this guy would have lived, what would the Marvel Universe look like? And shortly after, Jack Kirby began collaborating with Stan Lee, and we have the entire Marvel Universe. The rest is history. But what would the Fantastic Four look like if it was Joe Maneely drawing it? What about the Hulk and others, right? Crazy how life works. But in this collection, we get a lot of different genres. So it's not just horror. We get a lot of westerns. We get a little bit of sci-fi. We get a lot of war stories as well. We get a character called the Black Knight, which is popular with some people. I never really cared for that character very much. I have read this book already. I ordered it from Amazon maybe a few months back. It arrived as expected, smashed up, so I had to return it, and got this from a reputable source this time. But where I think Joe Maneely really shines are his horror stories. They're absolutely fantastic. His art style is just very unique and distinctive. There is some double dipping throughout these collections, but I think I like this material enough to sacrifice, a little bit of that double dipping. I mean, look at that right there. That's just quite amazing. And once again, this is not a complete body of work by Joe Maneely. He did quite a bit of work over at Atlas, so will there be a volume 2 of a Joe Maneely Artist Edition? We'll have to wait and see, but what I think they should have done is just collect all of his stories, put it under one book, charge us more for that one book. It doesn't make any sense. Now, there is an Artist Edition coming out shortly featuring the work of Bernie Krigstein. That will collect his entire body of work that he's done over at Atlas. However, for some reason, it's going to be in black and white. Not sure what their thought process is behind that. So these books, they're not perfect. Forgot to mention the contents of this book. We have Kid Cold Outlaw, Black Rider, Whip Wilson, Venus, Suspense, Girl Comics, Man Comics, Texas Kid, Wild Western, The Shadow, and so on. A lot of horror, a lot of Western, a lot of war. But I will be spending the next 3 to 4 weeks combing over the books or the stories that I haven't read in these collections and enjoying myself quite a bit. Big horror fan, enjoy the Westerns as well. So if you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up, and we will see you in the next video. Take care.